Welcome to Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
And welcome to the show.
Today we have rule number 6 of our 8 simple rules to trading crypto. Rule number 6 is my favorite rule. It is RSI before you buy.
Craig, this is not your favorite rule. Your favorite rule is know your limits. You've made this abundantly clear in 2 episodes that you have no limits.
This may be true.
But
RSI before you buy rhymes.
This is your favorite indicator.
It sure is.
Tell us a little bit about RSIs.
Well, RSI is a nice little indicator you can put at the bottom of your chart that'll tell you when things are overbought or oversold, and they are independent of each candlestick time length. So you'll have a different RSI for your 15-minute candlesticks and your 1-day candlesticks. And on the 15, you can see a very overbought RSI at 75. But on your days, you could see a oversold over at 30. So you use your different time lengths and your different RSI values to determine a trending pattern of is it time to buy or to sell, or to long or to short.
Well, so this comes back again to the time frames. What is your time frame of choice?
Well, lately, if I'm trying to do a quick in and out, like a 7-day time frame, I'm looking at the 15-minute, the 1 hour, and the 4-hour candlestick lengths. If it's something I'm trying to get into longer term, maybe buy and hold, or buy and find a time down the road that I think I'd like to get out, I'm going to be looking at the 1 hour, 4 hour, and 1 day. It's not very often that I get out into the weeks. I don't think weeks are a very good indicator, and it's not ever that you'll see me in the 1-minute candlesticks. 5s are a little gray, but I like my 15s, my 1s, my 4s, and my days. And which end of the long or short term will take one of those off.
When you're using the RSI, do you use it independent of other indicators, or is it strictly you combine them, or you go strictly off the RSI? How do you mesh those, or do you even mesh those?
Well, I don't use RSI by itself, right? I'm not just going to see the RSIs at 30 on 2 different candlestick lengths and say, good time to buy, let's get in. I also want to look at the technical analysis. I'm looking for support and resistance lines. I'm looking for news in some cases. If something drops off really hard, I want to make sure that it's not going to go flat. So I'm looking for some news, some sort of announcement that can explain the actions of the price movement. And I'm also just looking at, the patterns, the know your patterns rule that we have. I'm trying to see, is it breaking upward out of a channel, and that's why the RSI is high? That means it may not come back down. It may come back and retest the upper line of the channel, but it may be breaking to the upside. So that's why we never use RSI by itself. We always use it in conjunction with other indicators.
So are the news pieces that you're looking at, because I like looking at the world news, which you hate world news, we got all that, but are you looking specifically only at the ones that have directly to do with that particular coin that you're looking at, or do you feel like the world news is going to also be something that is affecting it?
It's a little bit of both. First off, I'm looking specifically at news for that coin or token. I'm looking for the thing that will directly impact it, and if there is nothing, then I can look deeper into some world economy news to see if it's driving the whole market down or driving the whole market up. But if I see one coin acting erratically, I'm looking for something to justify that movement.
Because when the world news happens, pretty much all of them are being affected.
Yeah, when we have larger scale news, it's usually the whole market that's pushing up and down.
So what is the numbers that you're looking at specifically on the RSI that indicate to go ahead and get in? Is it specifically to that coin, or is it like, hey, once it breaks below 30, I'm in. Above 70, I'm in.
Yeah, 30 and 70 are my lines, and I like to see it break either above 70 or below 30 on at least 2 of the 3 candlesticks, preferably all 3 of the candlestick lengths that I'm looking at.
That's your golden ratio of full on, full send.
Yep. Again, as long as it's not breaking out of a pattern that it's expected to push up like that, or if there's news that's coming out that's saying, some bad stuff happened to this token today and it's going to be lower. I'm not playing an upside on a coin that had some bad news come out on it. So RSI on its own, that's the golden numbers, but I'm looking to justify the movement. And if I can't justify the movement, I'm playing it.
So we've got it as RSI before you buy, mainly because it rhymes. But you also use it to sell, though, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I love the RSI as well. And I know that when you're looking at coins, that's one of the things that you're scanning through. Maybe as you're going through your whole list of coins, you're going through RSI, checking all of those before you even see where it's at on the dollar value. It doesn't matter to you where the money part is, but when that RSI, those lines are there, that's when you're like, okay, I need to dive deeper into that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I'm scanning through cryptos on the list, I'm sorting them by biggest gainers and biggest losers. And usually if you have something that's broke out to the upside or broke down to the downside heavily and it's at the top of either one of those lists, the RSI is going to be out of whack on it too. So I'm using these percentage changes to find the ones that have a potential RSI range that I'm interested in.
So on 2 of our shows, you've made really good calls based on the RSI, but I don't think you told the listeners that's what was your indicator. But you did use the gem box. That's one of your tricks to immediately check the RSI because they're in there because of the volume. Mm-hmm. Was that last week that you made that call on not ENS? What was it? It's Ethereum.
It was Eternity Chain.
Eternity Chain. That's right.
Was it ENJ?
No, I think it's ENS.
No, because that's Engine. ENS is Ethereum naming service. Eternity Chain. ENC?
ENR. It's ENR. That's what it is. Yeah. But that's kind of what you use to get in with that. Did you also use that on your exit, or did you have a set amount like I'm just going to take 5% and be done? Because that's the way I like to do it too, is to get out based on percentages, not just on waiting for the RSI. Because just because it comes down doesn't mean it's going to break all the way down to that 30 line.
Yeah, it's hard to use the RSI to find an exit point. It's a lot easier to find an entry point. So in the case of Eternity Chain, it was up at 394 that I got in. That sounds right. Upper 390s. And, if it were to pull back to $3, which it did, I still can't guarantee that the RSI is going to go all the way back down to below 30. It could really just settle in the mid-range and stay there. And that would be an exit point. So you could look for it to pull back, but there's really no RSI indicator for me that says, here's the lowest it's going to be. So for an entry point to long or to buy, I want it under 30. But as an exit point coming off of a short or out of a long, I'm really looking for more of a price point where I'm using more of the support and resistance lines and some technical analysis to say this is a target zone that I'm looking at.
What are you looking at now based on the RSIs?
So my call last week was ENR at, let's say, 394. My target get out number was 295, and I did scale out. So I scaled out at 340 and at 295. And right now it's at 290. So I feel like I hit that pretty good. I think it went to the 280s at one point. But my call for this week, I'm currently in an INJ short, which is kind of stagnant. So I think there's still time to get into that. But I'm also looking at a short on Sushi. Sushi showing some good signs, potential double top. RSI is nice and high on all 3 candles. It's in the 60s on 2 of them and above 70 on the 3rd. So if I could get that to pump up just one more time, or maybe show a sign that it's kind of fizzled out and coming back down, it's time for a nice little short on Sushi.
Well, the good thing about, if there's a good thing about taking a short, you've got a lot of things that are in your advantage, especially with the world news the way it is right now, because a negative global impact is also going to drive it down. It doesn't have to be directly based on that one coin. It could be based on, I don't know, the Russians attacking the pipeline again. I don't know. Any of that stuff could cause that negative reaction to come down. And it doesn't have to be directly related to so much volume coming in directly on that coin and people taking profit. to also bring it back down. So are you going to go into that on your private account, or are you looking for that for the challenge?
I'm looking for that on the challenge. I said, I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, that I'm looking to simplify the strategy. I'm not looking to blindly DCA into the bots. I wanted to find good entry points, and I am relying on my favorite RSI indicator to guide me in, do I go long, do I go short, and I'm not long playing any of this. Not like I had at the beginning. I still have my Bitcoin bot, which, quick note, Bitcoin is just under my entry price, my average price. So my grid profits have offset all of my losses plus some. My XRP bot is actually capped out. It's went through the top because I did not infinity grid it. Lesson learned. And so it's profitable. So I'm profitable on both those bots. Small, somewhat insignificant profits. But these RSIs, even just in the 2 weeks that I've decided to simplify into, let's find an entry point, get in, get out, and make a quick move. I was up $100 on ENR in 24 to 36 hours on that trade. And now here I am in INJ looking to make some more, and potentially sushi. So I think this is the simple strategy at this point in time of the challenge. I'm not looking to move all of my money into the margin account. I still have the bots going. I still have some long plays, but I'm looking to get a little bit riskier.
So your Ripple pot is currently pegged out. Are you going to re-enter that bot? Are you going to let it play out and see if it comes back down within the range? What is your plan with the Ripple bot?
Well, there's two options I could go with it. I could leave it and hope that Ripple comes back into the range, and then we're golden again. Or I could pull out of it, because at this point it's all USDT, right? Mm-hmm. It's pegged out on the top end. But I don't know that I'd put into it right away, because, again, I'm looking for a good entry price. So if I were just to pull out and start a new bot, I'm starting at the entry price where it is now. That could be a bad spot. So it's either take the profits and wait for a good spot to put it on anything, Ripple or not, or let it play out. And I think the first one, the former, of taking it out and finding a new entry point, aligns with my latest strategy of simple RSI, good entry point trades.
Are you saying that you're going to wait and see if Ripple comes down and go back into Ripple, or are you going to look to put it into a whole different coin altogether?
Either way. I mean, if Ripple comes down and if it comes into a range that I like, I'll throw it into Ripple. Maybe I move this over and I use that money to play on sushi while I have my current trade out on INJ, and I just use it to buff up the margin account. It could go either way.
Being very fluid in your plan there, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't even discuss it because new listeners may not be familiar with our challenge. Craig and I have a weekly challenge where we put $100 into our trading account, and our goal is to hit $100,000 with this trading account. This is real money. It's not paper money. We're not doing any paper trading. What we are doing with it, though, is buying, selling, trading, botting in Craig's case, and margin trading it. So I like to long, short, and the whole bit with mine. I do have some that I did DCA a little bit. I'm holding Cardona, Matic, and AVAX. I've got about $700 in there, not to discount the massive holdings I have in Gary due to our bet. I did buy $10 worth of Gary. Craig and I had a Gary bet a couple months ago on Gary versus Burger, which I lost and Burger beat me. And it was more of a bet. It wasn't really part of the game, other than I did use money from the game to invest into it. I have roughly $1,170 in my margin account. I've got $300 on the sideline, and I am currently in an ETH short. I've scaled in on it over the last 24 hours between 1350 and 1375. I'm looking to exit it. Oh man, once it breaks below that 1330 mark, I'm going to see if it retests that 13.15, 13.18, and I will probably start scaling out at that 13.30 as my first take profit, and my next one will be around that 13.15 to 13.18 point. That would put me right around 700 and change on profit so far for our game. And that's really where I'm at right now. I don't have a whole lot of others that I'm looking at getting into at this point because I'm fairly loaded into the ETH short right now. As far as the DCA goes, again, I'm still watching Matic and Link. Those I would like to add a little bit more to my Matic bag, and I would like to add a little bit more to my Link bag because Link has looked really good lately. They've got that good deal that they've got squared away with the Swift, and I don't know if they're really going to truly use them in all capacity, but that is some of the world news that I think is impacting the market right now, specifically to Link. I don't know, Craig. Is there anything coming up in the world news that has struck you? Does the Credit Suisse issue, does that play any effect on whether you're looking to long or short right now? Does that play into you? It does to me.
It doesn't to me. And I'll say this because whether we're in a bear market or a bull market, we're going to have ups and downs, and we can long and short both of them. So,
well, I agree. But if over the next couple of weeks, I feel more comfortable being in a short over the next couple of weeks, knowing that the Credit Suisse thing could, and Deutsche Bank for that matter, because they're not in any better shape, that could cause a cascading effect that could crash the market. And I bet by the time it's all said and done, it's going to. And for those of you that aren't tracking the whole Credit Suisse deal, it's one of the largest banks in Switzerland. They got about $1.5 trillion in assets, and they did announce over the weekend that they're in a little bit of financial trouble, but don't worry, it's all going to be fine, which is code for we're totally screwed. Sorry about all your money; it's fixing to get wrecked. I would tell you, for me, when they say "don't worry," it means worry. Bear Stearns said the same thing years ago, right before they went under the 2008 deal. Do you remember that, Craig? Were you aren't that much in the market then? I'm a little bit older than you, so it's okay. What were you in kindergarten or?
You said 2008? Come on now.
No, but for me, that's a red flag. That they've had a lot of problems in the past. They've been in with some espionage and money laundering, and they've paid billions upon billions of dollars in fines. Not just the U.S., but throughout the world, because they've been doing shady stuff, which means all the shady stuff they've been doing has been totally worth paying billions for. And that just means they can continue to do it. Last week when they hired their new CFO, they got him from Deutsche Bank, who's also been in trouble. And it looked like he got in there and was like, oh, man, this is really bad. I thought it was bad at Deutsche Bank. But over the weekend, they were trying to reinsure investors on one side, and on the other side, they're saying we need to make sure that we've got some capital and liquidity available. But don't worry, we've got plenty. We just need to raise some more capital, which usually means that they're fixing to get absolutely whacked. The credit default swaps look like what's going to get them burnt, and if they go down, they're 4 times bigger than Lehman Brothers, and if they go down, it's going to wreak havoc across multiple markets just because of everything that they're into. We're still sitting on the side waiting for some of the Chinese numbers to come out on housing and the real estate market. 2 million barrels of oil is being cut by the Saudis, and that's going to affect gas prices. I think in the next month or two, there's going to be some serious economic repercussions from several of these. And like I said, October 27th is when the Suisse the Credit Suisse thing is supposed to come to a head, and they're going to put out some restructuring plans and sell off a few assets. But don't worry, everything is fine, which means everything is not fine. Watch what they say, or watch what they do, not what they say. It's just, I don't know. Do you think that's going to have any major effects, Craig?
It'll have effects. I question to what extent.
So that doesn't bother you at all?
It's expected at this point. I mean, everything's going to hell right now. Do you expect any good news? No. That's a no.
I'm thinking of how to structure my answer.
Listen, I thought the big upswing would start when the merge happened. Everyone would be excited. Things would be party time. We'd have some upward movement. And then it happened, and it was like, well, the price was already baked in, and now the price is going back down, and which doesn't make any sense to me. How can the price be baked in? It happens, and then it comes down. That means you baked in too much price. So, I don't know. I was excited about the ETH merge. It did happen on time, by the way, at least phase one of it, right? And now here we are, just back in the same shenanigans we were already in. So,
and we're quite a bit lower price-wise than we were when that happened. I think we were around 1,600 when that came through, if I remember right.
yeah, but that's what I was saying. Like, they were saying that the price was baked in at 1,600, and like that's fine. But that would have also meant that it was supposed to stay there when it happened, not retrace. And now we're just retracing, and it's just okay. So the merge didn't matter, is what I'm getting. And okay, I guess we'll just have to wait for the next bit of good news and hope it sticks.
So what do you think is what are you expecting now currently from ETH? Are you expecting it to continue trickling down like it has been? Or are you expecting it to move back up, or no expectations whatsoever, just play the market as it moves?
We'll definitely play the market as it moves, but I would say that when Ethereum announces its next timeline for the next phase, whatever urge that happens to be, you'll see some, buy the rumor, sell the news, like the merge. So I think you'll start to see some upswing back with ETH, but in the meantime, I think this is where we're at, and the market's just going to move as a whole until something happens.
It just occurred to me also that there's another one out there that looks pretty interesting to me for the DCA part that I may end up changing mine into and moving towards, and that's with Cosmos and Atom. The one thing I don't like about them is that when you stake with them, it's got to stay there for 30 days.
Well, that depends on where you're at.
No, not with them.
Really?
It's 30 days to get your money out of it. And I haven't liked that, but I think that's what has helped hold their price a little bit better than some other assets. But when they come to their Cosmos 2.0, that's supposed to be one of the things they're changing, where you don't have, when you stake it, it's not a 30-day minimum. And that's something that I'm interested in to continue pushing into, but I wonder how much that's going to affect their price. And usually they've got a pretty good interest rate with theirs, 12, 13, 15%. But that's one of the ones that I think that over time, their ecosystem's pretty good as well. There's quite a few things that are being built on it. As you're DCAing, as we move forward with this, Craig, is there anything that when you're looking at what you're going to buy into that's based on the ecosystems aside from ETH? Because I know ETH is a big one for you. Mm-hmm. But are you also looking at one of those other ones like Cosmos or DOT or some of these other smaller ecosystems that may have you start applying money in there for the long term when it gets to that point?
I would like to stay with projects that I see making a difference, and I don't know enough about Atom yet to commit to it long term. Like with Crow, I see what Crow is doing, right?
Crow pisses me off so bad, though.
I know, but it has its exchange like most places do, and it has its DeFi wallet, and it has its NFT marketplace, and they bought the Staples Center, and there's probably going to be crypto applications that they launch over there, and they have their crypto rewards, and they have their crypto Visa card. Like, they have all these different things that they're trying to make crypto mainstream, and I can get on board with that. And then you look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's kind of the big name staple. And then there's Ethereum, which has this giant network, and there's so much that's built on that platform. And then I look at these other tokens like even Cardano or Polkadot or I guess Atom. And I know that they're doing things. I just don't know that they're doing it to the reach or to the scope that places like Crow is doing it.
Yeah, but they're a little bit different because the Crow's based on that exchange specifically, not necessarily. And I guess they are technically their own little ecosystem, but
they have their own blockchain, which they didn't at first. At first, they were an Ethereum token, but they switched over to their Kronos blockchain, and now they have their own platform that things are being built on. They have their Chronos ID, which I bought a couple weeks ago, and
Still waiting on somebody to send you something on there.
Just plug that in. But like I like that the steps that they're taking, and it hasn't really had a big impact on their token price. I think a big part of that was they came out the gate way too heavy on their crypto earn, where they were giving ungodly interest rates, and then they get cut back and cut back and cut back, and that turns a lot of people away.
Exactly.
Which is
That's
why
where
you don't like them.
Most certainly.
But if you're not playing the crypto earn side of it, if you're not trying to stake and earn rewards, like they still have a lot going on, and I'm okay with that. I think that leaves a lot of opportunity out there. I love what they're doing with their NFTs. I think what they have with their NFT ideas on their NFT marketplace is better than anything that I've seen, where they're partnering with the UFC. And every time there's the next UFC 146, 147, whatever it happens to be next, they're selling NFTs for those fights and for those belts and those posters, and they have mystery boxes, and they're making it an event, like NFTs around the event. They have the ability in those mystery boxes to where you may get an NFT that allows you to get a 1-year subscription to the UFC Plus or whatever their subscription service is. And that was your prize for buying the NFT mystery box. They've partnered with the 76ers, and they had an event where it was, again, a mystery box. And if you were a holder of one of the NFTs, it allowed you to show up and attend some sort of event. And if you had the whole collection, if you had one of each, and I want to say there was 10 of them, if you had all of them, and you had to have them by a certain date, you could go and do a meet and greet and have a lunch and meet the coaches. And it was super cool. Like, that's an idea with NFTs that's more than just, I bought this piece of digital art, right?
I love that idea of the collector's aspect of it around the sport, because we both have teams that we're big fans of. And for me, I would collect it almost like baseball cards or football cards And I know that Topps is kind of moving that way. They've paired with Wax, and that they're trying to get their NFT stuff off the ground that way as well in that category. But I would rather it come from the team, like what you're saying. Give me a chance to go hang out with my favorite team, catch some passes from my favorite quarterback. Dude, that'd be awesome. Is it worth buying a mystery box for $5 or $10? And worst case scenario, you get an NFT that's about your team that you get to kind of hang on to. But best case scenario, you get a chance to go out and catch passes from your favorite quarterback for a day, have lunch with them and hang out. Dude, sign me up. Totally worth it.
And I will say that the mystery boxes were a bit more than $5 or $10. I think the cheapest one I've seen was $50.
$50.
But yeah, I mean, but even then, some people don't even play the mystery boxes. Like in the 76ers case, people would buy mystery boxes and then just relist those, because maybe they bought 3 mystery boxes and they got 3 of the same NFTs. They're going to list the extra ones for sale, because why do they need 3 of the same picture? But if you're a person trying to get all 10, and I don't know that it was 10, but if it was, if you're trying to get all 10, I don't want to open a bunch of mystery boxes and buy 40 of them to get the 10 that I need. I'm just going to go to the marketplace and buy one of each of the 10 that I need. So yeah, I'm paying more than the mystery box, but I'm getting the exact one that I need and not having to gamble. And so in that case, I could be a person that just buys a bunch of mystery boxes and just relist them, knowing that people will pay more to get the exact one that they want, and I'm flipping it instantly. So from an investor standpoint, it helps me too. And then as a 76ers fan, I get to guarantee that I'm buying these ones on the marketplace to attend an event that I want to go to. It's a win-win. It's a win for the 76ers. It's a win-win-win. It's a win for the 76ers. It's a win for the sports fan. It's a win for the investor. And it's a win for Crypto.com. It's a win-win-win-win. So, yeah, I think it's an awesome idea.
What do you think is holding up the sports world from getting more on board with that?
I think it's just the unclear regulations on crypto. Nobody knows, what they're going to classify this NFT as. Is it just property? Is it an investment? Is it, I don't know how you could call it a security, but is it? What is it? And I think major organizations are shying away from it because it's kind of this weird gray area still. And until you get like a very clear-cut just ruling on what an NFT is, you're not going to see the mainstream adoption. But hey, kudos to the 76ers for going in.
I think that's cool. I'm not even a 76ers fan, but I would have considered doing that if I even like basketball.
Yeah. For real. And yeah, if my favorite sports team has something like that, I would put money into it to make that happen. I would. I'm not going to say what my favorite sports team is, but I will say that if my favorite football team had a mystery box thing going on where I had to get 10 different NFTs collections so I could go to that state and meet the team and be sidelined for a practice and hang out in a quarterback room meeting or something, whatever it happened to be, I would spend probably $1 to $2 grand.
Woo!
And I would fly out there and I'd have one hell of a weekend.
It would be awesome.
Yeah, and
it's a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah, and if you think of, okay, there's 10 NFTs and those people paid $50 in let's just say $50 in mystery box for them, and they resold them for $100, they're going to make double their investment. I'm going to spend $1 grand without having to buy all these different mystery boxes, and I get to attend the event that I want to, as long as I think it's worth $1,000, right? If it's like you get to sit on the sidelines for a practice for one day, and that's the whole. I'm not spending $1 grand for that.
Well,
right?
The Philadelphia 76ers deal, if I remember right, they got to get out there and shoot a little bit with the team. They had the chef for the 76ers that does all the nutrition, all that stuff, was the one that prepared the meal for it.
It was a list of things that you got for being a holder of the NFTs. So
I don't know. That seems pretty cool. Great meal, eating with the dudes, getting to shoot some hoops with them. It seems like a good deal to me.
Yeah. So, but that's just an example of what Crypto.com is doing to be next level in the crypto world. And so I will buy into that token because what are they going to do next? And what happens when there is clear regulation and they've already got the platform set up to do it?
Well,
how many other teams are going to come to Crypto.com to promote their stuff?
Well, real quick with that, right now it's trading around 10 cents for a crow, right?
Yeah, it's like 10, 11.
Okay,
yeah.
So 10, 11 cents, right? What was their all-time high? Do you remember? Because it was right at $1. It was right at $1.
Was it $1?
It was $1.
Oh,
they
man.
hit like 95 cents.
I was thinking 50, but like 50 cents. But even then, I remember
that's 10x if you were getting into it right now, and it goes back up there. If you truly believe in it, I think you have to DCA into it, Craig.
I mean, I have Crow. I
have
money
need more.
In Crow.
You're going to need more. Probably all of your challenge money.
I mean, I can remember a time where it had doubled in price from 8 cents to 16 cents. And then what happened is they cut their interest rates and it came all the way back down to 9, 10 cents. And then I remember getting back up to 16, 18 cents with the NFT marketplace and all these. The Staples Centers thing was a big one. And then they cut their rates again. And here we are back to 10, 11 cents. And I think that the crypto earn was a big part for them. That's what, and the Visa card was a big part for them. But I think that was just the initial idea. And I think they're branching out way beyond that. And the crypto earn will be, I mean, everybody has it now. Everybody has some sort of staking. Coinbase has theirs. Crypto.com has theirs. I mean, heck, you got entire platforms built on just staking like Beefy Finance, right? So I think they're looking for what's next. And if I just had to throw a shot in the dark out there, I'd say them buying the Staples Centers, which is now the Crypto.com Center. I think next is when there's clear legislation, how do we implement, hey, you can use crypto on the Kronos blockchain to buy jerseys and whatnot at the stadium and make it a mainstream retail thing now.
Well, the Mavericks were doing that with Doge because Mark Cuban's big into all that stuff. And they were trying to do all that stuff, but I don't think it ever really panned out for them in that way. But it sounds to me like you have left the no regulation world and got on the regulation bandwagon, which is not what you said a couple weeks ago on our Regulators Mount Up episode.
Listen, I would rather crypto be the wild, wild west. And I would like for the government to say, crypto is not something that we're going to regulate. This is it. And let that be that, because then I still think mainstream people would go into it because there's no fear of the government coming and cracking down on them for being involved. But the fact that the government has kind of been half in, half out, and it's super unclear, I would take either side. I would prefer that it's just they come out and say, we're not going to regulate this, go for it, wild, wild west. But it's better than being in limbo. I say that. What I mean is them having clear regulation is better than being in limbo.
Well, with the Biden administration pushing to get something done, hopefully Ripple wins their lawsuit. Hopefully Gary the Ferret Gensler gets out because he's a piece of garbage, completely flip-flopped. Get rid of that dude because that dude's been bought. Zero chance that he's not getting paid off. The whole SEC is as corrupt as it gets, and that says a lot because, let's face it, they're part of the government. We expect corruption from them because that's all they are, is a bunch of corrupt morons. They'll do anything for a buck, but this is about to get ridiculous. And I'm very hopeful that the judges that are over this, Judge Torres, I know put forth a really good ruling that helped out Ripple last week or the week before. And I hope that it continues that way. I know that there's another ruling that is going to be coming up where they're back and forth because the lawyers get to do this 50 times before they actually get to a part where they actually have to put forth a ruling. They're back and forth on this for probably another 3 or 4 months, maybe another year. They keep saying that they're almost over with this, but they're not. But hopefully Ripple wins, and some of that ruling will play into it so that everything gets pushed forward, and we're getting a little bit more out of it. So, Craig, think we've had enough? We should go ahead and wrap it up for today.
Let's wrap it up.
All right, let's end on a good note. Craig, what's your call for the week?
My call for the week is short on sushi.
Short on sushi. All right, I'm saying short on ETH. Look at exit around 1330. All right, guys, great to have you. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.